Hey all, Glenn Kirschner here. Please enjoy this video on the Political Voices Network.
Well, Glenn, with the events in the world this week, our conversations take on an added urgency, do they not? I mean, when we talk about what a national security threat Donald Trump is, he's also an international security threat. The fact that more and more people are reporting now on he's the one that gave Israeli intelligence to the Russians in the Oval Office, clearly probably gave it to Iran and Hamas. He's out there yesterday saying how smart Hamas and Hezbollah are. It is all one story, as I always say, Glenn. It starts with him being a traitor to the United States. And I ask again, are we any closer to doing something about this?
We better get our own house in order as far as sort of respecting and applying the rule of law. And if we don't, we don't have any credibility around the world. Are we any closer, Steph? I have to believe we're getting closer every day, if only because we're getting closer to Donald Trump's trial dates, his criminal trial dates, of course, on Monday. I'll be in court to see Judge Chutkan litigate the issue of just how broadly Donald Trump should be gagged. We've already had a couple of gag orders, one in some civil litigation out west on the 14th Amendment front, and then Judge Engoron in New York instantly gagging Donald Trump when he endangered the judge's court staff. So I feel like it's building, and I feel like we're going to get there, but it has taken way too long. And, if we can't set the example for the world, then, I think the world is worse off for it.
Yeah, you tweeted it. Donald Trump compromises our national security and then ruminates on whether he might be the next Speaker of the House. What is wrong with this picture? The House GOP obviously is its own hot mess. But again, because of Donald Trump, he's the one that has pushed this party to where they are. I'm wondering, so you're saying, Jack Smith, you tweeted pushbacks on Trump's attempt to move his documents, obstruction, espionage trial till after the election. Will Trump-appointed Judge Eileen Cannon do Trump another solid? In light of everything we just talked about in this international crisis, this documents case seems to be more critical than ever. And you're right, the Judge Cannon, wild card is really concerning, isn't it, in light of this?
Yeah, she is killing that case by, the death of 1,000 cuts or the death of 1,000 continuances. So I don't have high hopes that the May trial date in Florida will hold. But the good news is I think the March trial date in D.C. will hold. And I think it highlights probably a pretty good rule of thumb that if we are going to try a criminal former president of the United States, the judge who presides over that trial should not be beholden to the president, should not be, have been appointed to a lifetime position as a federal judge by the very president over whose trial she will preside. That's a recipe for disaster. It makes a mockery of, the conflict of interest rules. And, but so I don't have high hopes that we're going to see justice anytime soon in Florida.
Well, obviously, Jack Smith, you saw this, filed a scathing response to Trump's request for delay. It reads, the defendant provide no credible justification to postpone a trial that is still 7 months away. They are fully informed about the charges and the theory of the government's case from a highly detailed superseding indictment and comprehensive, organized, unclassified, and classified discovery. Their unfounded claims of government noncompliance with discovery obligations do not support their request. But once again, as you say, as we call her Judge Loose Cannon, who knows what she's going to think she can get away with here, right?
Yeah, and the hearing that she presided over yesterday on the conflict of issue with respect to some of the lawyers who are representing some of Trump's co-defendants, Walt Nauta, Carlos de Oliveira, these people have obvious conflicts, and she really didn't seem to get it. A friend and former colleague of mine was in the courtroom, and all she cared about was that, the prosecutor made a new argument that they didn't include in the motion that they filed. Here is a bulletin, Judge. We don't have to put every single argument we're going to make. The motion is just intended to put you on notice regarding the issue and the law. She really is, I think, in over her head. So even if she doesn't feel beholden to Donald Trump, Steph, she's proving time and again she's not up to the task of presiding over a case like this. But we're stuck with her unless and until Jack Smith decides he's going to make a motion to recuse her, and I don't see him doing that.
Can you explain? I'm reading through this whole article. I think it's better if you just explain it to me. So he's charged with disseminating classified information, and the argument is he needs somewhere to read the stuff that he stole. I'm confused, and already had and shouldn't have had. Right. It's about building a skiff. Is this what this is about? So
he's charged with, think of it, 3 batches of crimes. He stole and unlawfully retained these documents from the federal government. He had no right to take them from the White House and whisk them away to Mar-a-Lago. That's the first batch of crimes. Second batch of crimes, he obstructed justice when the grand jury subpoenaed the return of the documents he had no right to, and he flat out refused to return them. And he violated our nation's espionage laws. That's the third bucket of crimes, by disseminating and unlawfully handling what's called national defense information, some of our most closely guarded secrets. And now he's trying to use as a weapon the highly classified nature of the very documents he stole by saying, oh, well, it's not feasible for me to look at and review these documents. And, the whole thing is a game, Steph. The whole thing is a game designed to delay this matter as long as possible because he thinks he can get through the next presidential election without the people, without the voters knowing that they're voting for a convicted felon who compromised our national security. It's a game.
So the good news I'm hearing, though, Glenn, and you'll know more about this, is that it seems in Jack Smith's filings that it appears he knows why Trump took the documents and what he did with them. Did you not, suss out those nuggets? That's what I'm, hearing from other legal eagles like you.
Yeah, I saw the teaser there, and I've always maintained that the evidence that's been publicly reported is probably about 10% of the evidence Jack Smith has. Yeah. That's why, and the same holds true down in Georgia with Fani Willis's prosecution. Once we see the trial beginning on October 23rd, televised and live streamed, we're going to begin to see for ourselves some of the evidence that only prosecutors and grand jurors have seen thus far, and I maintain it's going to be spectacular.
Yeah. So Jim Jordan appears to be coming out of the hot mess, goo, in the House caucus. Now, I guess he's going to try again, to see if he can get the votes to be speaker. You tweeted, DA Fani Willis says Jim Jordan is abusing his authority and obstructing her RICO prosecution of Donald Trump. Again, she has had to say this yet again.
Yeah, Jim Jordan is, not only did he criminally defy a subpoena that was seeking evidence about the crimes of Donald Trump on and around January 6th. So what did he do? He committed the crime of contempt of Congress to hide from the American people evidence that he has of Donald Trump's crimes. And now he is issuing the very kinds of subpoenas he defied. And it's transparent what he's doing. He's trying to interfere, put a stop to DA Willis's prosecution of Donald Trump for violating Georgia state law. Fani Willis said, listen, either you don't understand the Constitution and the separation of powers as between the federal government and the state government, or you do, and you're just intentionally obstructing my prosecution. Which is it? Sport. I added the sport. Fani Willis didn't call it sport.
It's my favorite.
And now, of course, he wants to become the Speaker of the House. I mean, it's like making the arsonist the fire chief if he becomes the Speaker of the House. I mean, at some point, though, Steph, DOJ has to step up and deal with the insurrectionists in Congress, because if it doesn't, we're just going to get more of this.
Well, we're having former Republican Congressman David Jolly on in just a bit, Glenn, and this is the question of our time. What has happened to his party and therefore to this country, where you and I are sitting here on a Friday morning talking about the front runner for the Republican Party being charged with 91 felonies under 4 indictments. And the guy apparently might be Speaker of the House, was not just in it, but apparently the director of the coup that almost overthrew the United States government on January 6th. And here we are.
And the Republican Party has examples of patriots, in that party. I don't know if David, who I admire greatly, is still a Republican or if he's left the party. But listen, we do have Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger as 2 examples of people who said, listen, my reelection prospects are not as important as my obligation to try to save this democracy from Donald Trump. How is it we can have so few Republicans who, take that position? That will be a question that I'll never be able to answer.
George Conway just quoted Liz Cheney, who said, after Hamas slaughters hundreds of Jewish families and Israel confronts an unprecedented security crisis, Donald Trump attacks the Israeli government and praises Hezbollah terrorists. Are Republicans really going to nominate this dangerous man to be president of the United States? And if you have to answer the question this morning, the answer is yes. Looks like they are.
Yeah. I maintain he's going to be convicted in the D.C. case. He's going to be sentenced to prison, and Judge Tanya Chutkan will not leave him on release pending appeal. So the Republican nominee is going to be in prison. Is he going to govern from Supermax in Florence? I don't know, but I still have some hope that reality has to set in, if only the logistics of a president, who can't govern from the Federal Bureau of Prisons. So I think reality is going to catch up with Donald Trump and the Republican Party sometime in the next 6 months or so.
You always send a thrill up my leg towards the end of our time together. 2 more in the Glenn stack, and the Glenn stack is starting to look like a phone book now.
I'm sorry.
For you kids, that's a book that used to have numbers of everybody in it. Sean, it's a book that old people have. Okay. Donald Trump is demanding access to documents whose supposed existence is based purely on a conspiracy theory. His latest filing this is the J6 case. They demand to see missing files from the House Select Committee, the J6 committee. This is where, again, the conspiracy theories meet the light of a courtroom and law, right? Just because he says
the good news is
go ahead.
The good news is I've had people file frivolous subpoenas like that in an effort to kind of weaponize the system. Judge Chutkan is not going to have the time of day for it, and Judge Cannon, I don't want to say is a lost cause, and I'm not willing to write that prosecution off, because once we move into the trial, winning that case will be like shooting fish in a barrel because of the mountain of evidence against Donald Trump. But Judge Chutkan will not let him weaponize the process by filing frivolous subpoenas just to gum up the works.
Okay. Judge orders Alex Jones and Ronna McDaniel to testify in Trump criminal case. we're going down to Georgia. It is amazing, how they're all involved. It says that McDaniel, they write, possesses unique knowledge concerning communications between herself and Trump, as well as between her and John Eastman regarding the conspiracy to cause individuals to falsely hold themselves out as electors. Same with Alex Jones. I mean, it will be interesting to see how many people this funny Willis net actually catches at the end, won't it?
And the fact that we're going to see it with our own eyes, because it will be televised and live streamed. And here's what everybody should keep in mind, Steph. There are only 2 defendants on trial. That trial starts October 23rd, and it's Chesbrough and Powell. Those are the only 2 defendants on trial, but the prosecutors will present the entire RICO case. All of the evidence of the crimes committed, not only by those 2, but by Trump, Mark Meadows, Giuliani, John Eastman, Jeffrey Clark, Jenna Ellis, all the fake electors, because that's how we prove RICO cases. You prove the whole dang case because they're all responsible for all of the crimes and the resulting harm. So we're going to see all of the evidence of the crimes these people committed, and that's why I hope everybody will tune in and watch the evidence for themselves.
Yeah. Ronna McDaniel needs to go to Karma prison for saying the Middle East crisis is a great opportunity for Republicans. Okay, last one. Forbes senior editor Dan Alexander said Alan Weisselberg, longtime CFO of the Trump Organization, lied in sworn testimony on Tuesday when questioned about Trump's penthouse atop Trump Tower. Weisselberg repeatedly insisted he never focused on Trump's penthouse, and which of course was the one they said was listed on financial documents as 30,000 square feet when it was 10,000 square feet. Alexander wrote, "That's not true. A review of old emailed and notes, some of which the Attorney General's office does not possess, show that Weisselberg absolutely thought about Trump's apartment and played a key role in trying to convince Forbes over the course of several years that it was worth more than it really was. Given the fact those discussions continued for years, that Weisselberg took a very detailed approach in reviewing Trump's assets with Forbes, it defies logic to think he truly believes what he's now saying in court." I mean, is there any chance Weisselberg will still flip if he is caught now in perjury as well, or no?
No, he never flipped. He was given a plea deal that, as a career prosecutor, I don't think I would have given him. Yeah. And it's coming home to roost now because he's lying and lying and lying. Part of the problem is when the prosecutors used him in the criminal trial against the Trump Organization, you kind of now have hooked your wagon to Alan Weisselberg, and he's getting away with a lot. And my favorite line from Weisselberg in his testimony was, the fact that Trump's penthouse apartment was 10,000 square feet, and I said it was 30,000 square feet. It was de minimis, basically de minimis fraud. It was such minor fraud that I didn't even care about it because I committed much more fraud in my 15-year-long scheme to defraud. I mean, the whole thing is theater of the absurd.
Yep. All right. Only one way to solve it. SexyLiberal.com. Get tickets. We're going to see you out here in studio next week and on stage. We love you, Glenn Kirschner.
Love you, Steph. See you next week.
All right, honey. There it is, my first drink of the day, Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Many of you know my story. I stopped drinking wine for 3 years during COVID, during the lockdown as part of a health reset. Now I drink wine in moderation, but this is an amazing new product. I've always believed in probiotics. And Z-Biotics, check this out. You drink just one of these. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I am using this and I feel great in the morning. I don't have to worry if I have an extra glass of wine, I still feel great in the morning. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. I've always had acid reflux problems. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. All I know is it works. It is Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Go to zbiotics.com/politicalvoices or scan the QR code on the screen right now.